Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Conservative motion before us today says they, and I quote, believe in greater diversity in schools. Now, the Collins Dictionary defines diversity as the relation between entities when numerically distinct. In other words, there have to be a multiplicity of entities. Now, in my constituency in the council area of Murray, the future of schools in Fenechty, Portnocky, Portessie, Cullen, Rothiemai, Crossroads and Cluny School and nearby at Port Gordon and New Mill are all under review. And Milnes High School in Fochabers and Moss Torloch is under threat of closure. The Tory motion also believes in maximum choice. Are schools in Murray with good educational attainment being supported by what's proposed? No, they're threatened by proposals to merge, to close, to reduce the number of schools, reducing diversity, reducing choice, not to deliver maximum choice, but quite the opposite, not to deliver greater diversity and reduce numbers. I may come to Mary Scanlon later, because I will say things of considerable interest to her. No educational case has been made for the changes that are proposed in Murray. Nor does the economic case stand any scrutiny, because many of these schools are below the 70 pupils level at which additional funding trips in. And if the schools that are proposed for closure were to close, it will be a 7-figure sum in funding that Murray Council sacrifices. So it's not justified in diversity, it's not justified in choice, and it's hardly likely to be justified on economic grounds. But more fundamentally, there is not a squeak, not a sound, not a word of community wanting this kind of change to be made. Now, how do we know what the community thinks? Well, on Saturday, the communities in Fochabers and Moss Torloch in my colleague Richard Lockhead's constituency were on the march to save their local high school, Milnes High School. An excellent school, as many of the schools I've referred to are, with good marks. We're not looking at closing failing schools here. We're looking at schools with good educational records. So on, just wait, please, if I may, Presiding Officer. So we had a community energised in defence of its own school. Not quite unanimously, though. The local Conservative councillor, well known to Mary Scanlon, was not with the team in Fochabers and Moss Torloch. He was not standing shoulder to shoulder with his constituents. He was standing on the touchline at Easter Road as an assistant referee between Hearts and Hibs. A very important job, very important that he gives that support in the capacity he does. But on that day of all days, he should have been standing shoulder to shoulder with his constituents, and I hope that in future he will do so. Does Mary Scanlon wish to comment?
Mary Scanlon.
Thank you. I do think, Presiding Officer, it is inappropriate to talk about a member of my staff who does have a contract with the Scottish Football Association, but I would ask Mr Stevenson, as the convener of the Standards Committee, to reflect on his comments. Can I just say that my granddaughter is a pupil at Mistodlog School, and I want to declare that as an interest. The only proposals to close Milnes are from Caledonia Consulting, and I'm sure as a member of the SNP, the member will be aware that all the councillors in Murray Council will be voting on Monday to determine whether or not that school is up for closure. But I will say I'm on the same page with the attainment levels. I have a paragraph in my closing speech on Milnes High, and I agree very much with the member on the attainment levels.
Stewart Stevenson.
Well, can I say I think I'm perhaps maybe encouraged by what I've just heard, but I think equally, it sounds as if we may be hearing, Presiding Officer, an attempt to outsource the blame for something that was initiated by the Council. But if on Monday we get the kind of result that the communities have been marching for, then I think that is something I will make common cause with anyone in any part of this chamber and express gratitude for. So I'm glad to have raised it today, to give it that airing, in the hope that we may see some progress on behalf of our communities. Now, in the remaining 50 seconds that I have, let me just say a little bit about disadvantage and about from where that comes. Yes, it comes from economic circumstances. It certainly does not come from genetic ones when children are born. I did an event in Aberdeen, I think in 2009-2010 as a minister, where I saw a film of a one-year-old child beating with music. Right from the outset of birth, children are affected by the environment. So having an economic environment where we're denying children the range of opportunities that they would get in more wealthy environments is not a way forward. And I ask the Tories to reflect on that, ask the Tories to consider the effects on next generations of economic policies coming from Westminster, and I'm happy to support the Cabinet Secretary's amendment. Presiding Officer.